chicken attack, chicken attack.
Hello guys, today we will have a topic called types of tourism. So first, about tourism, we have international tourism and domestic tourism. Domestic tourism is you from the origin country. For example, you're from France, you you travel to Paris, you travel to a city in France. That means you are a domestic tourist. International tourism is that you travel to another countries and you become an international tourist. You are from France, but you travel to Russia. It means you are an international tourist. So international tourism, we have inbound tourism and outbound tourism. For example, you are a Vietnamese, you are traveling to another country. So for Vietnamese, it is inbound tourism. But when international visitors come to Vietnam, and it is counted as outbound tourism. Another example of inbound tourism and outbound tourism is that a person from Vietnam travels to Japan. For Vietnam, it is counted as outbound tourism as the person traveled to another country from the origin country. For Japan, it is counted as inbound tourism as the person from another country enter Japan. It's like you are an international tourist come into Japan and you are counted as inbound tourism for Japan. We have different forms of tourism. The forms of tourism depends on the purpose of visit. Today we cover 7 main forms of tourism. The first one is recreational, which is the most popular and occupied the most of travelers, tourists. It involves leisure activities because the word recreation is the activities or interests undertaken by an individual during their leisure time, during their free time. Recreational tourism could be categorized into 2 domains: leisure-oriented tourism, or we just call leisure tourism, and non-leisure-oriented tourism, which includes business tourism, professional sport tourism, and visited friends and relatives, or we could say VFR. Usually it's hard to differentiate between non-leisure and leisure tourisms because people usually travel with multiple purposes. However, this word recreation is more focused on leisure activities. So when you go for places for entertaining or travel to places for your free time, for your leisure time, so it is recreation. It's more focused on that. And the second form is cultural. Cultural tourism satisfies the cultural and intellectual curiosity, involves visit to ancient monuments, places of historical or religious importance. Like the pictures here, you see the Chinese festival events. That's a cultural. And for example, here Vietnamese village, minority village in the mountains. Is counted as also a culture tourism. The next form is sport tourism. It's distinguished with 2 types, the passive sport tourism and active sport tourism. The first one is passive tourism. Tourists come to attend, be a participant of that sport events. And the latter one, the active sports tourism, is tourists come for viewing the sport events, act as an audience. For example, World Cup. If you are a soccer player, you travel to the country to play soccer, to attend to World Cup. you are an active sport tourist. If you are go to that country for seeing the World Cup, you are an audience, you are passive. And next form is health tourism. Under this category, people travel for medical treatment or medical treatments for example, go for surgery, go for buying medicines, go for consulting for medical situations of them, for example that. And people visit places where there are curative possibilities. For example, you go to hot springs, you go to spa, you go to yoga, anything that's related to health is health tourism. And the fifth one is conventional tourism. It's becoming an increasingly important component of tourism. People travel within a country or overseas to attend conventions relating to their business, profession, or interest. And a very interesting word here to characterize the business tourism is MICE, M-I-C-E. It includes meetings, incentives, conventions, exhibitions. Yes, you see nowadays many 5 or even 4-star hotels have conference room, meeting rooms because they target those business travelers. And the sixth one is incentive tourism. It's the holiday trips are offered as incentives, or you could call rewards, by major companies to staff that achieve very high targets in sales or high performance when they're working. There's a new and expanding phenomenon in tourism. Familiarization is also a sample of incentive tourism. Rewards may not be given to only individuals. It could be given to a group of people. Certain companies or certain departments offer all their staff a vacation for team building or to work as a group for business project in a different environment. You see, there are many companies at the end of year or in Tet holiday in Vietnam. Most of the companies would offer their employees to come to vacations, to encourage, to give them rewards for very high performance of that year. And the last one is the dark tourism. It's a new one. It's visiting sites associated with death, war, assassination, and other tragic events. For example, in Japan, there are people visiting sites that have nuclear radiation. Of course, they stay in a bus and goes to a place with low radiation. And for example, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the American released 2 nuclear bombs there, and the radiation could keep the areas uninhabitable for thousands of years. So we just go on the bus, travel around, and see how the place, what happened to the place, something like that. And there's a very new form of dark tourism that is more extreme. That I found on the internet is that people travel to that place to become as a character that goes through the tragic events. For example, you act as a prisoner staying at the prison, real prison, for 2 or 3 days. So extreme. Or act as hostages in a kidnapping event. Those are extreme. And if you do not have strong mental health, please do not participate. So it's the end of today's section. Hope you enjoy the video and learn some type of tourism, form of tourism. It include recreation, culture, sports, health, convention, incentive, and dark tourism. And lastly, the most important thing is that remember to like and press the button subscribe below to update new videos. If you think this video is not good or need improvements or some information is wrong, tell me at the comment below so I could improve it. Thank you and have a nice week. See you next time.